Hello, for this assignment we were given to talk about a discrimination that we weren't personally affected by, maybe one we haven't been exposed to. And so I chose discrimination anti-atheist, something I haven't really read upon, haven't been exposed to it. And so I decided that that would be something that I could talk to that would kind of give me a fresh perspective on that. And so there were 3 articles that I read. Very informative. The first one is Anti-Atheist Bias in the United States, and it tested 2 critical components, and that was by Saul and Hesacker. And it brought up some statistics about in the United States, 70% of people, the adult population, believe in a personal God. And so a large amount of Americans obviously believe in the existence of God. And so they naturally have a negative view of people who don't. And so how people view people who don't believe in God, the atheists, they believe them not to be as trustworthy. So obviously there's this personal distrust with those, or believe that they would be not loyal. And so it's kind of seated in how we deal with each other. So it was a very good article. It says that people feel this bias toward atheists, and it's almost reaffirmed because it's so prevalent in society, and it's so prevalent that it's almost given the okay to discriminate against people who wouldn't believe in God, because the majority of the United States, obviously 70% of the adult population, believe in a personal God. So therefore, they find it hard to trust somebody who wouldn't hold that same belief. And the second article was Social and Political Exclusion, how America's religious interaction with open atheists, how would Americans interact with that. So it focused on 2 different aspects, the social and the political. And it brought up that there was a phrase here that I thought was striking, that religion can be a 2-edged sword, because socially those who are considered highly religious are very committed to the community type outreaches, blood drives that they're involved in, also active in community outreaches for people that maybe would be detached from society, maybe that needed a helping hand. It says those who would be considered religious they're more involved out in the community, more to do things that we would consider like community involvement. And so there's a plus side that this article brought out, but also the political side. A lot of people are very hesitant who are running for political office to designate themselves as a particular party, especially those, or not party, I'm sorry, a particular belief, because there's the stigma that if they would identify as an atheist, that obviously they wouldn't get voted into public office. And so obviously that stereotype of someone not being trustworthy, that other article that they did a study on, comes back. People are hesitant to vote for people who are not religious or don't believe in God because they don't consider them as trustworthy as somebody who would. And that's almost just built in, I guess, from what these studies show. They did a study. In this one study, what they did is they gave a certain scenario on an individual. And so all they did was just kind of change the information, and sometimes they would add in plain language that he was an atheist or that he wasn't, and then how people viewed this person as trustworthy or not. And so if they had the word atheist in there, that they would consider them somebody who wasn't, that they could trust. And so due to the American society being as religious as we are, even if it's just in word association, maybe not in particular beliefs, it affects how we vote politically. And so that's something that this article brought up. And so the last article that I read was on the receiving end, discrimination toward the non-religious in the United States. And it actually gave that there were between 3.6 and 5.2 million people who consider themselves atheist. In essence, they're atheist. But of those people, 1 in 7 of those people reported that they have experienced personally some type of discrimination because that they're atheist. And so I thought that was a staggering number, that even though 70% of Americans would consider themselves that they believe in a personal God, but yet there's so many people that are reporting that they are being discriminated against just because they hold those certain beliefs. Even though First Amendment right, you have a right, freedom of speech, freedom of religion and the press, but freedom of religion, it's being held against them if they vocalize it. It's almost unwritten. It's better not to be forthright with it. You can believe that, but just don't publicize it, because people will consider you not very truthful. And so therefore, if you're running for political office or anything like that, they're going to hold that against you. Also, socially, that people who are highly religious tend to be not groupie, but groupish, that they hang together. And so therefore, for someone who would be considered an atheist or don't believe in God, those who are considered religious will not necessarily in social gatherings hang out, that they're going to be separated just based on those beliefs. And so and it affects like I said, 3.6 to 5.2 million people. So the number is staggering, the amount of people that have experienced discrimination due to their belief. And so I thought this was very informative, something that I've never looked at, never studied. I would consider myself religious. I grew up in church. And so to kind of see the other side and how they view us, or myself, the way I was raised and still practice. So it was very informative to see the other side. And so hopefully I've learned a few things that I can be aware of and be mindful that even if someone holds a different position, not to treat them any different. And so I thought this assignment was very beneficial to me to kind of see it from the other side. So thank you.